Hello everyone and welcome to another banner review with me, Umber Rays, and today I'm going to be talking about the FF2 banner as well as the Chocobo Fina banner, and yeah, sorry, I'm going to be sick for this one, and that is not an indication of what I think of these units yet, but it is just an indication of the fact that I am sick right now, and being sick sucks, but the show must go on. We're still going to talk about these units, and FF2 is our King Mog event, so needless to say, without a 75% bonus unit for this Mog King, it's kind of hard to be, oh yeah, everything's, you don't really need to pull on this. Obviously, if you have a ton of Marias and Guys, which actually I don't think I have on my account, because I'm pretty sure I traded them away or whatever, but yeah. This banner is not exactly my most favorite for a Mog King. Not having a 75% unit is a pretty, as I've said in the past, a pretty bad thing, and I still feel like it's a bad thing here, especially because, even an old unit like Emperor is not a bonus unit on this either, so this just kind of feels like a generally bad Mog King event, or it's going to be extra grindy, and for people who say that there is a half stamina, that is true, but it's not going to be on King Mog stuff, so half stamina doesn't really benefit us here. But interestingly, when we're talking about these units, I do find both of them to be interesting, if not fundamentally flawed. Right out of the gate, I do want to talk about both Leon and Firion, and as well Chocobo Fina to a lesser extent, but now that we've seen the data, what is it there exactly to say? Well, let's start with Leon, who I think is easily the better of the two units, which is a little strange to be saying. However, with not only this unit's design, but also this unit's kit, it feels like this unit should not be the dual wield unit here. I think this is horribly mistakenly done here. Guy is not exactly like even if you look at him, he basically looks like he is a single weapon wielding character, yet he is the dual wield character, while Firion, who has many weapons on his back, and heck, even in Dissidia, he can use multiple weapons at once, even using, kind of magic or whatever, but it kind of feels like he should be the dual wield unit, and that's kind of reflected in their kits. Leon is basically a chainer debuffer. His Trust Mastery is a 135 attack, 20% defense sword with a 10% chance to dodge physical attacks. I think this is a fine weapon in general, but the problem with, and this goes for Firion too, is that anytime you want to put a TMR weapon on a character, you ultimately limit what that character can equip. Interestingly enough here, this guy being a dual wield, it doesn't hurt him as much, but it's still something that, well, we'll talk about the end of this. Super Trust Mastery is basically 100% attack up equipped with a sword and heavy armor, which is just great right now. If you have, for like any of the true dual wield characters that could equip a sword, and a heavy armor, this is just 100% attack boost, so this is just a really good super TMR. I don't think there's really anything else to say that. Pots and passive-wise, Leon is actually pretty darn good. He can reach a pretty high amount of HP, defense, Spirit's weak, attack, and MP are all pretty good for an attacker, so I don't think there's anything to complain about there. Looking at his Limit Burst is an AoE debuff, which I think is not parsed correctly yet, so we'll skip that. But the big thing here is a 250% attack boost for 4 turns, AoE 1 turn, or 1 hit, I should say, 1725% physical attack, ignoring 50% defense. Excuse me, and an AoE Dark debuff for 120% for 4 turns, and that's AoE as well. So it's an AoE attack. It has dark debuffing on it. It's not the most expensive at 32 crystals, I think, and it gives a big attack boost. I think this is a really good limit burst as a chain finisher. Looking at his passives, he has natural dual wield. He has 5% MP recovery per turn. He has passives that equip increases attack and defense when equipped with a sword, which again is his TMR, so okay. Up limit burst fill rate, equipment bonuses for great swords as well as axes or spears, which is pretty nice. Natural light resistance, he has the chaining ability, which ups the chaining modifier. He has a permanent boost at the beginning of battle, 50% true dual wield there. He has 100% charm resistance, basically double casting pretty much all of his abilities. He has more 50% more true dual wield as well as HP, defense, and attack bonuses, which are all nice, and some bonus modifiers. Now, looking at his kit, his attacks, he has some debuffing kits or attacks in his kit naturally. Interestingly, he has some drain abilities that also debuff the enemy, which is kind of cool. He also has pretty good on-demand AoE physical damage and debuffing of the enemy as well for the dark element. He also has an ability which is a AT chaining ability, 8 hits, 6 frames, 350% attack, not the highest modifier, but it adds dark to his attacks for 5 turns. So not only does it give him the dark element, it does dark damage. And that's, you know, just really, really good. Gives him that for basically all of his abilities. His big chaining ability has 120% debuffing, and again, it is 8 hits. Basically, just really nice. Into his 7-star, he has a 70% debuff for 3 turns, as well as debuffing the enemy. That's available turn 1. On an 8-turn cooldown, though, so it's hardly even remotely reliable for his big debuff, and he doesn't have any other sources of big debuffs. He has another chaining ability that adds modifiers. In his 7-star kit, that is a 8-hit chaining ability, and he has one more 8-hit chaining ability cooldown that debuffs, you know, dark resistance. It's available turn 7 on a 7-turn cooldown, so while it is very powerful, it is pretty, you're just not going to really get it that much unless you're fighting a ton of battles. The interesting thing about Leon is that Leon is basically a dark version of CG Lightning, without a couple of key things. One, the much more powerful limit burst that is also a chaining limit burst, access to just kind of some better debuffing skills and more elements. But the biggest thing that I do not like about Leon is that his primary focus is the dark element. And while the lightning element may be, you know, obviously there is the complaint that, hey, only a single element. What if the enemy is weak or not weak to that element? What if they are immune? We don't bring that character. The problem with dark, though, is that a lot of enemies end up being the dark element because enemy is darkness. This is kind of just the way it works. So, yeah, I'm just not while Leon is definitely a strong character, don't get me wrong, CG Lightning probably still wins because of a couple of just key things that are limit burst related, as well as just having a better element accessible to her. That is to say that I think Leon is actually really good and probably the better unit on this banner, but I don't think that he is worth pulling for. If you already have CG Lightning, CG Barts, you probably have a good enough damage dealer and you can probably skip this. Other than, you know, getting him for the bonus, I don't know. I mean, he is a really powerful dark chainer, AT chainer, so that is important to note. Now, also looking at the other character that we have, Firion. Firion is just such a weird hodgepodge of stuff. And again, I want to bring up the fact that I think Alum is really terrible at advertising stuff, because for all week I've been kind of complaining about his killers, and it turns out he does have other killers in his kit. It would have just been nice to know that from the start, and I think that would have been better advertising too. Hey, he is a he specializes in these killers, but he still has all the killers. That would have been maybe better. Anyway, Trust Mastery is the 135 attack, true dual hand weapon with the Drain HP ability. Super Trust Mastery is a 60% attack with a 75% killers to certain enemies. I believe it is bird, stone, and human. Obviously really, really good. But again, we haven't talked really too much about his Super TR. Looking at his pots and passives, he can get a really high amount of attack. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on, and his equipment selection is very, 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 very strong. Now, his excuse me, limit burst is Master of Arms. It is an AoE, or a self, 4-turn, 50% killers versus avians, humans, as well as stones. It's an AoE, 3,450% one-hit physical attack that also enables triple cast to his abilities for 2 turns. This limit burst is really strong. It's a high modifier on it, and there are some already pretty good materials out there to make this stronger. Or sorry, it's 13 hits. I don't know why it's considered, or I'm not really sure what there. It should be a 13-hit AoE ability, so it should do a lot of damage, but it is classified as 3,450%. Anyway, strong ability, gives him extra killers. Now, looking at his kit, passives is where I probably am the most interested in this guy. Poison Petrify resistance, 150% attack boost when his HP falls below 61%, which is a neat little buff. Auto heal HP per turn, 10% MP recovery per turn too is really nice, to say the least. And in his kit, he just has a lot of passives. I'm not even going to list them all, but for instance, equipping with a rod will give him magic and spirit boosts, which is weird, but okay. He'll get attack and spirit when equipped with a bow. He will get attack and spirit when he's equipped with a whip. He will get, you know, just attack when he's equipped with, or attack and defense when he's equipped with daggers or swords. So his kit is very flexible, which is why his TMR and the fact that he is a true dual hand unit feels so fucking bad. And yeah, I dropped an F-bomb there because it does feel really bad. All these passives remind me of Gilgamesh, where having a dual wield that can take advantage of all these passives is so nice. But the fact that his TMR kind of limits him to one weapon, and he's a chainer, but without the true dual wield and the true dual wield bonus chaining ability, makes Firion's kit feel quite a bit weaker, which is probably to off balance the fact that he has so many killers in his kit. He would be really dangerous. He had high passives, as well as high modifiers, and a ton of killers. He would just be probably the most dangerous unit in the entire game. So how do you do that? Well, don't give him the chaining ability, don't make him a true dual wielder, basically kind of inadvertently nerf him by character design. So that is a thing that seems to be happening here, as he has just so many bonuses for equipping different weapons, yet his TMR very much limits him, and we'll get back to that in a second. Now he has natural killers, again, versus basically everything by the looks of it. He has a lot of really nice, he has 100% true dual wield bonus in his kit, naturally. Interestingly, he has an ability, a counter ability that can give him triple cast for 1 turn, either physical or magical. That's probably one of the things I like the most. It's only a 30% chance, and something fell down. Sad. He has natural, double casting. Triple casting is supposed to make up for his lack. He has a bigger limit burst because of equipping his own TMR, or super TMR. Again, we'll get there. Extra modifiers, and then we get into his kit. Now, his kit basically is... Wait, I don't know how to say this. I actually really quite like his kit for a lot of reasons, but I also don't like it. He has a degrading buff on himself on one attack. He has a drain on another attack. Quick Arrow is the ability that I'm just not crazy about, because it's a % chance that you'll be able to activate triple cast, but usually that's not a very good method of going about things. Normally you just kind of want the guaranteed thing. You don't want a, an outside chance that it's just going to happen. So really, I'm just not a big fan of Quick Arrow at all. Accelerate Arrow is a pretty nice amount of damage that gives some other bonuses to some of his other arrows. Shield Block has a chance to stop the enemy and debuff the enemy, so that's pretty good too. Spinning Axe is a 300% limit burst fill rate for 1 turn, as well as an AoE physical hit. But then we get into his Aqua Wand, Arrow Knife, and Shining Blade, and this is where I actually think that this unit really does shine, because they are all Stardust Ray Chaining. And the Stardust Ray Chaining family has needed a more support to be really good. And here it is. Oh, sorry, his spinning axe is actually Divine Ruination chaining. Oh, that's interesting. But really, here, each of these abilities adds the element to his attacks, but does not debuff. Aqua is really good because this is the ability that I have been waiting for to pair with Lock. This is really great there. Arrow, I believe, pairs really nice with Red 13, and Shining Blade, I don't even fucking remember, so let's just move on. But it is really nice. He has abilities that are also multi-hit attacks that can give himself some bonus killers against basically anything. You know, Beast, Demon, and Dragon is on one of them. Machine, Human, and Stone is on another. Plant, Insect, and Avian is on another, so that's all really good. He has upgraded chaining abilities after you put the element on him. And in his 7-star, he just has ways of giving himself some extra stuff, as well as triple cast, but basically you're going to be relying on this guy's limit burst to get his triple cast available a lot of the time. Bloody Rose, which is just a stronger chaining ability, but is on a 3-turn cooldown, available turn 3, and Audacity Saber, which is another 10-hit chaining ability that also gives him some killers and triple cast for 2 turns, and a recovery effect up. But it's a 7-turn cooldown, available turn 7, so it's pretty late game. So what do I think of all of this? Here's my biggest problem with the FF2 units. Notice that there's no 10 step up to get a guaranteed Super TMR this month. We are getting enough tickets to get a free Super TMR, but both Firion as well as Leon really only truly shine with their Super TMRs because it allows you to get their TMR weapon completely off of them. Both of these TMRs do have their advantages, but the Super TMRs are so good on basically both of these units that you can tell that this is what Alum wants you to pull for. The problem here is that it's just not as good of a deal this month to try and get these Super TMRs. So actually I quite like Firion, both in terms of kit design, and I think Leon is particularly very powerful. The problem is to get the most out of these units, you are going to have to hard invest to try and get their Super TMRs, and if you want to do that, great. I think that these units actually turned out better than I thought. If you're looking for a less higher investment, then definitely go with Chocobo Fina. Chocobo Fina does not need her Super TMR to be great. Based on my testing, you can go check out my review and see everything about that, but really, quite frankly, when it comes to the FF2 banner, both of the units are actually pretty darn good. I think that their modifiers are probably kept low so that they're not insanely high damage dealing, but both of them definitely do have their strengths, and I think that Firion is at a very important time in the game where Stardust Ray chaining really needs to start being taken seriously if it wants to be a major chaining family, and this is really good support for it. But definitely, if you're just looking to not be in a big hurry this month, maybe just spend some tickets on FF2, there's a good chance that Noctis is coming in March and he might be a more popular character and may fill a bit of a different role. So yeah, I give Firion a conditional thumbs up if you're willing to go for the Super TMR, same with Leon, and you're willing to settle for the fact that the Dark element does have a bit of a nerf compared to a lot of the other elements in the game. And other than that, Chocobo Fina is, with her basically guaranteed at least one copy for 5k Lapis, is probably a pretty good deal, seeing how we're getting 5k Lapis free anyway. So that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. See you then.